So good morning, everyone. Buenos dias. Ana Maiques. So I'm going to talk to you about neuroelectrics. As you know, I'm a super fan of LSI. And the photographer already asked me, where's my cap? So I brought it. Don't panic. So about neuroelectrics, I think that neuroelectrics is not because I'm the co-founder and the CEO, but I think it's a fascinating company. Because on one side, we have revenues from our DX business, and on the other side, we have a therapeutic huge opportunity and an amazing technology. So as you can tell by my accent, I'm from Barcelona, beautiful Barcelona, but I scaled the company to Boston a few years ago where my investors and most of my professional life has been developed. So as I said, we have a great team. My investors are Boston-based, Morningside, and I was very lucky to have Henry Termier as my mentor, the CEO of Genzyme in Boston. And I'm very proud to have such an amazing board of directors and great advisors, both in Europe and in the US. We have had a lot of awards in the US and here. I think it's interesting as a women CEO how hard it was to raise money, my Series A of 20 million, and how from being told in Boston that I will never raise money if I wasn't a man or I didn't put a man to raise money for me, I end up being Goldman Sachs Entrepreneur of the Year. So I think that's how a history of resilience, right, on how you have to keep on pushing, to bring diversity into the tech space. So very proud of my team. As you listen to me, and you know this, your brain sends electrical signals as it's your heart, right? I think in LSI we speak a lot about the heart, but also the brain runs on electricity, right? So our thesis has been with our amazing now lady in the cab. Last night at the gala dinner, one of the ladies told me, Anna, your hair is so beautiful. I never see it because I'm usually always 100% of the time wearing my cap. So it was very funny that she kind of got aware that I have hair. So for you in the audience, this is our technology that is basically a non-invasive read and write medical device. So we can do EEG, which is not new. It's just that our EEG is very easy and fast to use. In 5 minutes, you can have a wireless EEG with dry electrodes. But the other thing is that we can stimulate the brain. We can send electrical currents, small electroshocks, into the brain. So you have a diagnostic and therapeutic non-invasive take-home platform to develop a lot of help for patients. So if you look at my brain right now, you could see this is my electrical activity being, let's say, red, more activity, blue, less activity. So through the EEG, if I suffer from epilepsy, and it's a focal epilepsy, you will see under an electrode that, I have like a seizure, right, under a particular position. And the beauty is that then we can use our platform to decide to bring inhibitory or excitatory currents over that position. This is very different from DBS or TMS or other technologies where you can only stimulate one area of the brain. We have the potential to do neurocircuitry. We have the potential to inhibit or excite networks on the brain. Of course, we have the scalp, so we'll never be as precise as DBS. So we have to choose our pathologies very carefully. So EEG has been there for a long time. I think it has a lot of promise for biomarkers. We did a huge work for the Michael J. Fox Foundation trying to do biomarkers for PD, but I think that it's coming back with AI and a lot of the things we've been seeing. And then our modality of stimulation is called transcranial electrical stimulation, also known as TDCS, TACS, TRNS, which is really this low voltage, less than 2 milliamps over the scalp. And I think the beauty of the technology is that it needs repetition. So we need to do one session after session after session, and that's why taking the device home makes a lot of sense. So one of the areas that I'm most proud of, my co-founder is a physicist and mathematician, and he's pretty obsessed in his cave to decode the brain. And what he's doing is building computational neuroscience model of the brain. We call it NeuroTwin, which is a biophysical and electrophysiological copy, replica of your brain in the cloud to be able to personalize treatments in ways that it wasn't before. So pretty cool technology that we are using in our epilepsy FDA trial. So it's an example of how AI or machine learning is being used to personalize treatments. So let's start with our DX business. Very happy to mention that we've been growing a lot. So we started selling 4 $0.6 million in 23. We have scaled to 7.4 in 24. We are aiming to do 10 million of revenues in 25. Mainly US, Canada, Asia, Europe, and the rest of the world. So we have 25 distributors, 7 salespeople, and a lot of partnerships with an amazing EBITDA and margin. So we are mainly selling to researchers worldwide since 2011, which is the creation of Neuroelectrics, to pharma companies, big contracts to incorporate EEG in the clinical development trials. And now this area that we just launched last year is about selling our fast EEG into the emergency rooms of hospitals across the US and Europe, because if an EEG technician is not available and you have a kid or an adult unconscious, or you don't know if they have epilepsy, if the technician is not there, they will put them in the hospital for 3 days, give them the wrong treatment, and it's a huge cost. So at this rapid EEG, we really want to deploy in the emergency rooms of every single hospital. So if you're from a hospital or you have contacts, let me know. So we are scaling from $10 million to $40 million in 5 years. And one of the things that I'm most proud of also is that we manufacture devices. So in Barcelona, in the beautiful mountain of Tibidabo, I have a factory running devices, and we ship around 600 devices per year, and we have the capacity to scale in our building with all the licenses and so on. So if we talk about stimulation, our main program is on epilepsy, and I'm only going to talk about this. So in epilepsy, when I moved to Boston, we started to talk to Boston Children's, and we realized that there is a huge unmet need, because out of the 3.4 million patients in the US that suffer from epilepsy, 700 are focal, and 300 have a very well-identified focus, and they all don't respond to medication. So only 3% of all patients in the US, and that's the same in Asia and in Europe, are receiving a surgery or an implanted device, being RNS, DVS, or VNS. So huge unmet need. So what we did is stimulated patients 10 days, 20 minutes per day, and we compare a baseline of 8 weeks of seizure tracker versus 8 weeks of follow-up. We made the clinical neurophysiology cover for this pilot study, and this is how the technology was applied. So we asked every neurologist at Boston Children's and in our hospitals to do an EEG and an MRI of the patient. And then in our platform, the neurologist has to tell us where the seizures are coming from, because this is focal epilepsy, let's say here, and blue is because we want inhibition on that point. And then our platform builds a 3D model of the brain of that patient based on the MRI and on the EEG, and then we build this neurotwin or copy of the patient's brain and start to compute how many electrodes and how much current do we need to inject into that brain for that particular target map on the brain. And then the patient in the hospital receives a color code hardware with the positions coming from the model as well as the current. So truly personalized. And this gives us 44% seizure reduction in our pilot. So patients reduced seizures almost to half. 3 patients didn't respond well. We think they were misdiagnosed and had multiple focus. And that helped us to raise our Series A of $25 million in Boston in 2021. And we've been doing a phase 3 pivotal trial in epilepsy. 20 hospitals in the US, 20 hospitals in Europe. Last patient in was close already. So we have the interim analysis in November. It's randomized, controlled, and blinded, so we are very scared and excited and everything, I don't know. But if all goes well, we'll have the FDA submission next year and FDA approval and commercialization in 27. So that's the beauty of being an entrepreneur. Maybe in 27, we'll have a new therapy, non-invasive, that didn't exist before, developed between Barcelona and Boston to help all these million patients. So that's the beauty, I think, of the startup world. We don't know how the data went, but we know that 70% of our patients participated in the open label extension. So we are very excited, and we have 0 adverse events. So hope the FDA is keen to us, with the primary endpoints and secondary, because our safety profile is huge. So we think we can scale this. Our price point is $30,000 for the purchase of the device and a lifetime of 3 years. So I think it's a huge scale-up ramp. We already have a reimbursement strategy, very well designed. You can look at it in our data room. And then we are, of course, always raising money to both push our DX market to make it into a $40 million revenue in 4 years, and also to get the epilepsy franchise in the market. So come and talk to me. I think it's exciting. I think non-invasive brain stimulation still has to come out of the closet. So, talk to me anytime. Thank you.